when I got to her house, she said, "Can you teach?" I looked at this woman. I said, "What is wrong with this woman? Teach. What's my business in teaching?" I said, "No, I don't want to teach." I told her point blank. I said, "I don't want to teach." She said, "No, you will teach." The owner of the school had me come to school at that time. So there was this particular day she came to school. So when she came, she said she wanted to see all the teachers at the end of the day. So we were in our office, and then she made this announcement. She said, "Listen to me, everybody. Henceforth, if you don't know how to type, if you are not computer literate, get out of my school. I give you 1 month to leave my school." Ooh.
Welcome to this episode of Peel. On this podcast, we're peeling back on the inspiring stories within education and unveiling the future that is possible. We are telling the stories of those who make great things happen. Our guest today is Kemisola Ojeifo, a distinguished educator with a proven record of excellence in education, leadership, and management. She has established a strong professional niche through a commitment to advancing quality education and fostering institutional growth. Her expertise lies in integrating technology and global competences that enhance teaching, learning, and administrative effectiveness. Passionate about innovation and professional development, she champions inclusive practices and capacity building within educational communities. Through a visionary leadership and strategic initiatives, Kemisola continues to contribute meaningfully to the transformation of education and the preparation of globally competent learners and leaders. All right, welcome, Mrs. Kemisola Ojeifo, to this show today. It's a pleasure to have you. Would you mind starting by saying something to educators all around the world who will be hearing you on this podcast? Just one thing to start our show.
Thank you very much, Mr. John. I would say education is the pathway to success and freedom.
Education is the pathway to success and freedom. I'll take that as a major title of the Kemisola Ojeifo book. and I would, and I would delve into that. I'll take our conversation from that point by asking about you and education. Who are you, and what's it about you and education? How did you get into education? Can you take us into that journey of you and education?
Interesting. Well, I would say I bumped into education by accident. It wasn't planned, it wasn't designed, because I had wanted to be a lawyer growing up. But because of the kind of background and the parental care that I have, I didn't really have that luxury of being the lawyer that I had wanted to be. But at some point, when I left secondary school back then, I had to go and enroll in a salon to learn how to make hair, because I just needed to do something. I didn't want to just stay back and be idle. So I was doing that and I was making money. But I was a freelancer at that time. I didn't have a particular shop that people will call me to come to their houses to make hair
freelancing
for them.
Hairstylist.
Yeah, I was.
And this was as far back as, what are we talking about?
1992, 93, because I left school 89. Yeah. So 1992, 93, I was just enjoying myself, feeling on top of the world, until at some point I discovered that the freelancing work I was doing, sometimes they will engage me on Sunday, and was actually encroaching on my spirituality. Going to church on Sunday, I discovered that when it's a particular time, I wasn't even part of the service again. I was looking at my time. I needed to go and meet deadlines, call clients, talking to them, and then making money was what was on my mind at that time. And because it was actually encroaching on my spirituality, I didn't really know what to do, but because I was making money, so who really cared? I didn't really care. So until a particular day when we had a program in church, I was the one that coordinated the program for the teenagers. Then at the end of the program, there was this middle-aged woman who has been part of the church for a while, called me and said, Kemi, I would like to see you at home. I said, okay. So we fixed the date. I went to see her. So when I got to her house, she said, can you teach? I looked at this woman. I said, what is wrong with this woman? Teach. What's my business in teaching? I said, no, I don't want to teach. I told her point blank. I said, I don't want to teach. She said, no, you will teach. I'm like,
really?
What is the meaning of this? I said, no, ma, I don't want. She said, no, don't worry. I'll put you through to it. One thing I discovered in that conversation later in life was the fact that there are certain things about us that we do not know that people see about us. Yes, she saw something in me which I was not seeing at that time. And that was how I started. She took me to her school and she put me through to the curriculum, teaching and learning. So I started with year 2 children. I remember clearly, about 10 children in the class. And that was how we took it up from there. And because, there is particular qualification for you to teach at that time. So she encouraged me to go for this National Teachers Institute, Kaduna, which I enrolled and I started from there. But I think after 2 years or so, I went to work in another school. So it was that school. I was barely a month in that school before the head teacher of that school actually recommended me to the owner of the school that I should be the one to take over from him because he wanted to go for his master's program at that time. So it was from that moment I started having another perspective towards teaching. Yeah.
Towards teaching, and you were getting into the leadership right now.
Exactly, there and then, yeah.
Right. But before we go into that second story of how you got into a second school and was made a head teacher within about a month, let's go back a bit to the first 2 years in teaching. You were making air and you were doing good, making money. You didn't have any plan to teach. I mean, teaching was far away from whatever it is that was your desires at that point. But here you were, you took up the offer, okay, I'll start this stuff. But I was wondering, did you still maintain your work fixing and being an hairstylist while you started that first school, or you just immediately cut off from making hair entirely?
Oh, of course, immediately I had to cut off because one thing with me in my nature is that whatever I put my mind to do, whatever I set my mind to do, I don't get distracted. I just went straight into it. Of course, it was a bit tough. It was a bit tough because I wasn't getting money the way I should. I had to wait till the end of the month before I get my salary. But because at that time I wasn't married, so it was easier for me to, to be able to manage myself. Yeah. So I had to cut off from hairdressing vocation that I was doing at that time.
And that's an important life decision. I don't know how you think about it, whether you think it is critical, significant or not, but I think it's important because here you were. One important thing for living life, right, is finances. And here you were making a shift that was not planned as far as you were concerned. And I'm sure it was obvious to you to an extent by the time you were taking up a teaching offer that you probably would not be making as much as you were from the hairdressing. Well, you might correct me if that's not the case, but you probably saw that coming, but you still went on with the teaching offer, knowing that also meant that you were not going to be further available for making how did you deal with making that decision? Because
it's important in life that we're able to zero in on things. And sometimes when you need to zero in on something, it's not generating the value that you would like to see at that time, but it's the long-term reward that can possibly come out of it. And this, I believe, is the reality. But lots of teachers and educators as well, because in the immediate, it might not seem to generate the kind of value and reward you want to see. So how did you make that decision to say, you know what, I'm moving into this, and it may not be giving me the money that I am already making in the immediate, but this is what I'm sticking with?
Yeah, thank you so very much. Yeah, I think what actually happened was that before the time that that woman actually had a conversation with me, have been having this emptiness inside of me that I'm not being fulfilled working as a style freelancer and, trying to balance my spirituality. So I've been looking for opportunity to serve in the house of God as well. So that was not giving me the opportunity, but because there was no option, I had to just continue with my freelancing. But when this woman called me into teaching field, it was an opportunity for me to quickly, shift. Though it wasn't really easy in the area of finances, the woman was actually there for me. She introduced me to doing extra lesson with the children, which of course at that time was bringing a little income for me. So that was what actually helped me. And for the fact that at that time I wasn't even married, so it was quite easy for me to transition into teaching permanently.
Interesting. So the matter of fulfillment for you was critical and major enough for you to make
critical.
that shift.
Very critical, yeah.
And then you moved on to this school where you were there for barely a month, which in typical organizations, right, you should still be in probation within the 3 to 6 months that you join, but then were recommended. How did you feel about that recommendation, and why did you think that you were recommended to be the head teacher in such a short time?
Well, I can't really say much in that regard, but I know that I remember that day when the head teacher spoke to me that he will be going for his master's program. He told me that one of the things that actually attracted him to me was my handwriting. That when I came for the interview, the handwriting was beautiful. The handwriting on the board was beautiful. So they were like, we hardly see teachers who have good handwriting on the board, who have, in those days we used to write lesson notes with aha. So he said your handwriting was what actually attracted me. And then the way you were coming early to school and all of that. So that was how he actually recommended me that I would be able to, take the lead from there, because he wanted to go. And the owner of the school at that time was a member of Deeper Life. So the man wasn't coming. I think his wife was not really involved in the school business. So it was the man that was coming. The man was not really coming. As a man, you also need somebody that can handle it. So the head teacher was also a man. So the man felt that, okay, as a young lady at that time, I will have the capacity to handle the children. Well, that is my thinking anyway. So that was how it started, and I took it up from there.
Great. You mentioned something right now that is worth paying attention to. How you, in the early days, of course, we're talking 92, 93, 94, 95, you were majorly writing your lesson notes. That's even majorly, you were writing your lesson notes with pen and all of that. You didn't say the other side, but what that tells me is that today it's largely not the case. You're probably typing and all of that.
Digital. It's digital lesson plan.
digital lesson plan. So that tells me something. There's been a shift there. There's this technology wave that is sweeping across, and that brings me to a question of your own transition as an educator from the very typical manual experience. I mean, I remember back in our day in primary school, we used to use blackboards and chalks, and every Friday there was something that was a ritual for us in school. Every Friday. By the way, I went to a decent primary school. My parents were kind enough, in spite of their limited capacity, to send me to a decent primary school. Well, every Friday, every class had the responsibility of making charcoal into liquid from the kitchen of the school. We would go there, gather the charcoal, put it in water, make sure it melts into the water, and then we'll come rub it on the board because we're preparing for next week, right? Because the blackboard needs to be very dark against next week, so that when teachers are writing, it's very legible. So what you just said took me back there.
I can relate. We were even using battery. We were using battery. The black content in the battery, we would break the battery, mix it with charcoal, and also so that the dark can last. Yes. So
wow. And kids would have the responsibility of bringing dusters routinely.
Exactly.
Have you brought your duster?
Not only dusters, you come with your toilet roll and cane, long cane. At the beginning of the term, you come with long cane and your duster and broom.
And broom.
You come with broom. Yeah.
Oh my. But all of that has changed significantly to using temporary markers and whiteboards to now using digital boards. Can you talk to us a bit about the transition into technology? Maybe we should go into the history a bit of when this transition began for you in your career. You might want to talk about the particular school it was in and what were the early changes that you began to experience with technology.
All right. Thank you very much. So I will say that this transition to digital tools started when I worked in a school in Surulere, Hartsfield School in Surulere. Then when I was in that school, I remember clearly that we were still writing lesson plan. We call it lesson plan. And then we don't even type. We have a computer teacher that comes once a week to teach the children. It is the computer teacher that will give our lesson plan. Not lesson plan. Give our exam questions. Questions to help us type, He will be the one to help us. At times we even lobby. We give him some money. Okay, you will type my own first. Let my own first. So, exactly. So one day, the owner of the school hardly come to school at that time. So there was this particular day she came to school. So when she came, she said she wanted to see all the teachers at the end of the day. So we were in our office, and then she made this announcement. She said, "Listen to me, everybody. Henceforth, if you don't know how to type, if you are not computer literate, get out of my school. I give you 1 month to leave my school."
Ooh.
Wow. Yes, it was. She just dropped it and left. And at that time, I just had my first daughter. That was 2009. My goodness, how am I going to do it? They say when there is a will, there will always be a way. And because I have loved teaching to the point that I can't go back, it is too late for me to go back. So I had to devise a means. What do I do? So the guy that used to be our ICT guy, Mr. Peter, I will never forget his name. So he used to come to school every Wednesday. So that Wednesday, when he came to school, I just quickly went to meet him. I said, "P, please help me. I need you to help me. I have to learn this Microsoft. How do I use Microsoft Word?" He said, "Mr. Ojeifo, I don't really have time." I said, "There must be time. You must look for time for me." He said, "The only time I have, I teach back to back is only break time." I said, "That break time, 30 minutes is enough for me." And that was how every break time I would quickly, run to the ICT room. He would teach me 1 or 2 things. So you open your laptop. In fact, at that time, I got a mini laptop from our boss. At that time, I was paying in bits because I couldn't even afford to pay everything at once. So I was paying in bits, and then he taught me 1 or 2 things about using the Microsoft Word, using the PowerPoint, and then a little bit of Excel. And then he gave me the handbook for Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and Microsoft PowerPoint. But the bottom line of everything was that at that time, I was able to type my question by myself within that short time. I was able to type. So we have some of our colleagues at that time that they were like, I don't really care. I will still look for ICT teacher to help me type. But guess what that helped me to do? After a while, she just called me one day. I think about 1 or 2 years later, she called me one day. She said she has another school in Lekki and she wanted me to come and continue in that school. And I told her, I said, Ma, I didn't bargain for Lekki. She said, what are you telling me? Remember when you applied to Lekki? I had forgotten that I actually applied to Lekki school at that time. But she told me that Lekki school was not ready, that she has another one in Surulere, that I can continue from Surulere. I should start from Surulere. I said, okay. So we, back and forth. Somehow, she said, don't worry, I'm going to give you some money to look for accommodation close by so that at least you can continue from there. So what that actually helped me to do was that when I started in Lekki, in her other school in Lekki, it helped me to transition properly, because all the teachers that were in Lekki at that time, all of them would go to ICT room to start typing their lesson plan, to start doing something on the computer. Within me, I said, Lord, I thank you for this change, because if I had not, been part of that change, when she mentioned it that day in her school in Surulere, that I don't want you to be in my school if you're not computer literate, I don't know if I'll be able to fit in at this point in time. So that was how the journey to transition into technology started, with me.
Great. Wow. You said a lot of things that I can start picking on. Very many important things. Very many important things. They are simple, but they are the things that are very useful for becoming an excellent professional. It doesn't even matter the field. And then, of course, in particular, education that we're talking about. Take, for instance, here comes this proprietor who throws a challenge at everybody.
Yeah.
From the way you narrated this experience, it doesn't seem that those who didn't take the challenge were necessarily sent away.
Yeah.
They were not necessarily sent away. But you took that challenge. It was not easy when you took it, but you turned out to be grateful for it. And that in itself is so big. And I think that our teachers need to hear that again and again and again. Because we live in an environment that tends to be backward in the way that things run. So people are not particularly encouraged to do beyond their environment is asking of them. So everybody is just mediocre in their quality, and very few teachers know how to use an email, an email, prepare a document, prepare a CV. Part of the things we do in Teacher is to connect teachers to schools, and we see a lot of curriculum vitae, and we see the way these things come out. Not impressive, prepare a cover letter, a lot of these things, and they seem, why is it? But then you're asking the question, why are teachers not appreciated and all this? Now, all of this is not a blame on the teachers, but I'm just saying, just take from your point that everyone has a responsibility to also make themselves a unique person of value that would attract a certain kind of reward. And you just taking that challenge took things off. Is it about you also trying to get a laptop of your own, in some kind of a higher purchase, just paying a bit over time, buy now, pay later, we call it today? That kind of process. You want to talk about that?
Well, if I have to be computer literate, I will need a computer to work with to practicalize all I have learned. Exactly. So I actually approached her and I told her, I said, because I'm somebody that loves challenges. I love challenges. I love things that will challenge me, things that will stretch me. In fact, one of John Maxwell's book that I read, 15 Laws of Invaluable Laws of Growth, talks about the law of rubber band. As a person, if you want to be a leader, you must stretch yourself beyond. You must try to go beyond your limit. You must try to do more, because we are created to be more. But if you just feel that, okay, you are comfortable with what you are doing at the moment, you begin to plateau and complacency sets in and you become mediocre. And I don't want to be. I don't want to be. I want to keep challenging myself. I want to, even presently, as I speak with you, even at home, most of the time I'm always reading. I have a library of books. My children will say, Mommy, you are reading all of this. I can't read this. I said, you just have to read it. I'm setting this up for you guys, for you to know the value of reading. Reading helps me a lot. It helps me a lot. So because I'm somebody that from the beginning, I love knowledge. I'm passionate about knowledge. I don't want to just be in a particular sport. You know, in fact, I don't know. This interview is good. I don't know. Maybe we are going to have another section of this thing because there's a lot that I have to share. There's a lot that God has helped me with over the year. Yeah, there's a lot that I have to share. You know, so I will say that when she mentioned that particular day that I don't want you to be in my school, that moment something stirred me up to want to do more. And then she also told us one thing which I even forgot. She said, in fact, our teacher is not going to help anybody to do anything again. You'll be the one to decorate your class. You'll be the one to make your class ready for the children, because in that school, of course, they will give us colored papers to do decoration, to make the class welcoming and enabling for the children. I never knew I could even draw. I never knew I could do amazing designs. But guess what? Do you know that all those challenges she put forward at that time helped me? In fact, she even gave me a financial reward for being the best decorated class teacher at that particular time. Yeah, because at some point, other teachers will come to me and say, Mr. Ojeifo, can you help me cut this? Mr. Ojeifo, can you help me cut the beer? Can you help me do this? I never knew I could do that. So in the place of challenges, it now depends on the way you accept it. If a challenge comes, how do you receive it? But I receive it with positive mind, and today it's mind-blowing how God has helped me. It's really mind-blowing.
Great. I think your experience just resonates with me so strongly and aligns with this quote of mine. It's not that I created it, but it's something that I hold dearly, that growth happens under pressure. Right? Growth
so true.
happens under pressure. And yes, it's not every kind of pressure that is healthy, but in any way, in any case, for growth to happen, we cannot be in our comfort zone, right? And that's what we see.
The truth of the matter is, the strength of a tea bag is known when hot water is poured on it.
True.
Yeah.
True.
You see the strength. You see that coffee coming out, that black, the black color of that tea bag coming out when hot water is poured. When you pour cold water on it, see, it's just
nothing happens.
Nothing happens. So that's just it.
Awesome. And as you were talking, you also touched on the support of the proprietor. On one hand, the proprietor was challenging in throwing out that challenge and say, do this, else this is not the place for you. You took that up, right? And things turned out for the better. But we can't leave out the part of the proprietor also being willing. I haven't seen your interest to support with the ability to purchase your own laptop, and then to support with accommodation when you were going to relocate to Lekki, right? I mean, he or she could have said, well, you were interested in Lekki in the first place anyway, so deal with it. But there was that interest in seeing that you were able to have a fair transition. Do you mind talking a bit about school leaders and proprietors and people in leadership generally within the education sector just being more interested in people's welfare and their growth?
Yeah, thank you very much. I will say that we have quite a few proprietors or proprietresses who has the interest of their teachers in mind. But I'm not disputing the fact that we have some teachers too that are not, that are laid back and they don't want to move forward. But maybe what she actually saw in me was the zeal to want to know more, to want to do more, and that's diligence. Maybe she saw some things, like I told you, that there are certain things you do that you may not see as anything that people see. Probably she had seen certain things about me Yeah, I remember when let me say this. When I applied for the job of that Lekki that time, she asked us to come, and because I saw it on the dailies, I think Guardian newspaper was when I saw it there, and I applied. She asked us to come to Falomo to drop the application letter. Yeah, and we should also put our pictures in the letter. So I went to drop the application that year. As I was leaving, I think I've entered the bus taking me to Obalende when I received a call. And then I had a female voice telling me that, oh, you just came to drop your application letter now. You are so. He said, do you know what? I would like to see you next week. I love your handwriting. That was the second time I would hear it.
Again.
I love your handwriting. I said, I love. So it was the handwriting thing that actually attracted her to me. I said, among all the other applications that were there, she picked mine and then she took it up from there. So if there is anything coming up, she will tell me, okay, don't worry. Like this laptop, that laptop that I got, the very first laptop I got, she was the one that actually told me that, don't worry, I will give you option to pay maybe 2 or 3 times. Then I think the last lap of payment I'm supposed to do, she just asked me to leave it. She didn't collect it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we have some proprietors too that will want to really invest in any teacher that they see that has that potential for growth. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, your passion was also very glaring by the time you get on the work. And your mention of the handwriting is important because, for every one of us, we have something that can stand us out. I mean, you were not particularly trying to write in a way that will impress people. Of course, this would, in some sense, be a gift, and of course, something you have also developed to an extent. But you were not particularly expecting for that to be the reason somebody would be interested in you. So what that also means is that for everyone out there, there's something about you that will stand you out. What you just need to do is to continue to be diligent and keep going, stretching, keep expanding your capacity. And then there is just a little thing, the least thing that you would imagine sometimes can be what would just call someone attention to. I mean, how many people have applied for that? What's it about your own handwriting? This is
I don't know.
I think I want to write a letter to Donald Trump, and I would have to get you to help me write that letter, because this thing about handwriting, right? I mean, right. Let's move a bit further. Let's move a bit further and talk about something. I mean, I'm just wondering. You're passionate about teaching. It's been a rewarding and fulfilling journey for you. And that's what happens when one is in a place where they should be. However, I also think that even in the place where we should be, things happen sometimes that make you have a rethink somewhat. Feel uncomfortable, feel unnecessarily pressured, even though we have said pressure can be a good thing. But things happen that we're not particularly happy with. I don't know how far you want to go in this, but I feel it's important that we talk about that as well, so that we're not just sharing the nice stories. Have there been times when you considered exiting teaching, like leaving the profession or something of that sort? And if there has been, you might want to share with us one of that scenario and how you dealt with it.
Oh, well, should I say that there was a time that, of course, when I later got married, and then, I was expecting more in my teaching profession, but the more was not coming. The salary was very, very low. Yeah, the salary was very, very low. But I still kept on with the teaching profession, not because I was enjoying it at that time, but because I have a sense of fulfillment when I see the children doing well. That gives me a sense of fulfillment. But going to church also, listening to the word of God, hearing pastors talking about you waiting on God, depending on God to help you, to lift you up, to bring you out, and all of that actually was a motivating factor for me. Because there are times I will want to back off. There are times I want to let me look for something else to do. But simply because of the fact that the word of God has kept me going on, and then the fact that the children that I teach, they are doing well in life and they are giving testimonies, I think for me, that is a whole lot. That's a whole lot.
Wow. Quite touching right now. I feel like crying. Yeah, but this is like the second time you're talking about this fulfillment thing. And I think it's important, right? Because there are times, like you just said, when things wouldn't be going the way we really wanted, and some things would not be just the way we wanted. And what you've just said is that you were able to, by the help of the things that you were hearing as well, that were also refreshing for you, you were able to determine the non-negotiable and the negotiable. So for you, the income was important, but it was negotiable. Your fulfillment was for you non-negotiable.
In fact, let me share this memorable event with you, if you wouldn't mind.
That's fine.
Because that was one of the things, that kept me going. Yeah, I remember vividly when I joined that school in Surulere, that I told you the owner of school asked us to go and be computer literate. So when I joined that school that year, it was the beginning of second term. So I was, in fact, when I had that interview with the woman, she told me, because from my CV, she saw that I've always been taking exam classes, that's all year 6 classes, all this while. And then she asked me a question. She said, there is no vacancy in that exam class presently. Would you mind to be in year 1? Can you cope? So I said, year 1. I said, I paused. And I said, okay, well, I'll try. I will try to cope with year 1 children. So that was how I started. So I joined that school that particular year. And in that second term, when I entered the class, there were a class of 15 children, I think, yes, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 15 of them. When I started in that second term, I flipped through all the children's book. I discovered that the teacher who was there before didn't really do much with the children. And one thing with me is that, as when I say it's in my nature, I don't complain. So all I did was that I tried to fix problems. When I saw that she hasn't done much with the children, of course, first time the children should have known certain things before moving to the second term work. So when I saw those gaps, I started working with the children. But I noticed that there is this particular child in that class that was a bit laid back. The girl has terrible handwriting. And whenever I'm talking in class, she will not talk. She will just try to be on her own. She doesn't want to be part of the lesson and everything. So one day I called her, I asked her questions, and then she didn't really give me much answers that I was actually looking for. But one thing I noticed was that her handwriting was really terrible. So I took one of the handwriting book we have. You remember the handwriting book now? So I took one handwriting book of one of those children who had left the school. I started teaching her handwriting. Her handwriting started getting better. I started giving her comfort, counseling her, encouraging her, giving her praises. She could talk to me anytime. She should be free to ask questions. Nobody's going to intimidate her. Nobody's going to bully her. So that was how she started coming out of her shell. And guess what? This girl had a twin brother in that class. Both of them are twins. The twin brother is a genius. In fact, if you teach Femi a concept now, wake Femi in the next 5 minutes, Femi will download every single concept that giving him. But Kemi, that's the twin sister. Now, this one I'm talking about is somebody that, she's the opposite of the brother. So what I did was to encourage her, don't worry, you are going to do better. You have me, you can talk to me anytime you are free to speak to me. So she started coming out of her shell. At the end of that academic year, when they were to move to year 2, we normally have what we call prize giving day for students, where they will call the first position, second position, third position, and all of that. We're not doing best in science. Yes, we're not doing best in science, best in maths, best. No, it's first position, second position. Of course, this boy, the twin brother, came first. By the time I collated everything, that girl came third.
Wow.
That girl came third.
Wow.
Yes. The beauty of it is this. When it was time for calling, the awards, who got first, who got second, of course, the boy got first. The mother came out because the mother was expecting that boy would get first, because that boy had consistent record of intelligent progress. Yeah, excellence. Thank you. So the second boy, there's another boy that came second. When they called this girl as the third place, the mother broke down. The mother broke down. Then she had to hold onto herself to go and collect the prize and then take picture with the girl. Then at the end of everything, this woman came to me. She said, the first question she asked me was, Mrs. Ojeifo, how did you do it?
How did you do it?
Yes. I said, how? I don't understand. I didn't really understand. Then she asked me the second question. She said, Mrs. Ojeifo, would you like to continue as a teacher? I said, yes, I love teaching. I love it. It was later I got to know that this woman used to be, because she has left First Bank now. She was a MD of First Bank in that branch of one particular branch in Surulere at that time. So which means if I had told her that I don't love teaching, I want to do something else, she would have fixed me into, banking sector. But I told her, I said, no, I'm cool with what I'm doing. I love teaching. And from that moment, that woman, anytime she sees me, she will always introduce me to her family and say, see the person that actually took timidity out of Kemi. This is the person that actually took low self-esteem from Kemi. She will always be, talking about me. And so for me, that was a breakthrough for me in my career. That was the first breakthrough I got in my career. For me to move a child from 0 points to maybe 0.5, for me, it's a whole lot. So from that moment, I made up my mind that no matter what, it is this teaching or teaching. It's either teaching or nothing else.
Teaching or teaching.
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe someday in the future we will be meeting Femi and Kemi on this show.
Well, they finished. Yeah. Well, they finished in Covenant University. Yes. They finished in Covenant University. And last year, when I went for a program, I saw them. When both of them saw me, Kemi broke down. She just couldn't say anything. She broke down. I think she came out with a second class upper in Covenant University. Yeah.
That's great. Those are stories we should be telling. Because the transformation that teachers do is mind-blowing. And one thing I believe is that every student out of school can recall a teacher or two that were just very powerful for them and very useful for their growth. I'm sure we can go on and on, but let me ask you this question as we look at what the classroom is today and where it is going. We've talked about the digital classroom, what the technology space has introduced to education and the changes that we're seeing, your own practical journey of transition. I want us to talk a bit about the future of the classroom, how you see it. What's tomorrow's classroom like? Would you mind telling us what your perspective is on this?
Well, what I envision in tomorrow's classroom is an education whereby, learners are creators, learners are critical thinkers, and also they are global citizens. Yeah,
Critical
that's what I see.
thinkers and
global citizens.
And what do you see for the future of teachers, the educator? There was a time when you were not particularly impressed with the rewards and appreciation of teachers. Is that still the case? Maybe not for you in particular, but do you think that might be the case for the most part? And if that is, what do you see as things that can change with regards to the appreciation and reward of teachers?
Well, what I see the future for teachers is that I see teachers that are, globally relevant. Yes, in their profession. Teachers that, of course, they may be working in their local context, but they have global perspective. Because the children we are teaching right now, they are global. They are global. Even though you teach in a local school, you should not have the mindset that everything should be local. You should be global in your perspective, because if you are looking for a reward for yourself or you want to be appreciated, you have to also develop yourself to a point whereby you can, stand on a global platform. So that is what I'm looking forward to teachers to be able to do, so that they can, be relevant on a global platform, because teaching has gone beyond what it used to be. It has gone beyond it. And we have quite a lot of teachers out there that they are still expecting the owner of schools to send them for training, to develop them. No. It shouldn't be. Yes, the owner of school will do that training to ensure that, okay, she maintains the standard she wants for her school. But if you want more for yourself, there are some trainings that are not free. You can't get it on Coursera. You can't get it on all those platforms online. You need to pay for it. I paid for some courses for me to be, to be where I am today. If at some point, let me use myself as an example. At some point, I had to also do a course that has to do with mental wellness and addiction, because I know the kind of children I was teaching about 15, 20 years down the line are not the kind of children I'm teaching presently. I'm teaching children right now that are not, they do not have grit, they do not have resilience. Any little things, they are emotionally stressed. So I need to look for a way to balance it. I need to look for a way to make them to understand that what I'm teaching them is relevant. And then they need to just put all those emotional baggage behind them, even though they have it inside of them. It's just to keep talking to them. But all these things is not in the place of me just talking. I need to also equip myself to be able to teach them, to let them know that, as it is right now, you just got to have grit, you've got to have resilience for you to make it in life.
Great.
So teachers need to develop themselves to that point whereby they are globally relevant, building themselves, personal development, professional development, very critical, very critical.
Teachers have to build themselves to be globally relevant. So teachers need to leave this pity party and feeling like the least attended in society. In other words, bring yourself to the level of value that you want to be commended towards you. That's what
absolutely.
I hear there.
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let me ask this question. You've spoken so wonderfully about education. Of course, your journey has been so brilliant. And I want to ask, if you had all the resources you wish for today, human resources, positional resources, financial resources, what would you do differently about education? Another way to ask that question is, what would you do at all? So it may be something different, or it may be just doing something. Is there something you would just launch out doing, or is there a change you would try to pursue? What would you do if you had all that you needed to do it?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Honestly, In fact, that has been on my mind. If I have all the resources, I want to develop children that are self-led. I want to develop children, because it's not about math, English, and science. Let me say quickly that I take math. I'm a math major teacher, though I studied English. I graduated as an English teacher, but I love math. I've been teaching math for I don't know how many years now in exam class.
You're
But
the English math teacher.
yes, I do both. So what I'm trying to say is that, we have children that, they are not self-led. Leadership is very key. I want to be able to train up children that, they have that sense of responsibility. They have that decision-making skills inside of them, so that even when they get to the position of leadership, they know what to do. They don't need to be running helter-skelter for them to know what to do, so that they will not fail. So they're already developing themselves right from childhood, so that by the time they get to that position of leadership, it's easy for them to transition. It's easy for them to succeed as a leader in their space. So that's what I would do differently. Yeah.
Great.
Coaching them, training them, self-leadership.
Self-leadership. You want us to stop raising weaklings. Let's raise people who can take the word and take the bull by the horn and create change. Because people who create change are leaders, and that's great.
In African setting, we were not trained to think. We were not trained to think. We were trained to follow instructions. Because if we were trained to think, it would generate lots of questioning from children, and that would make them to explore more and become creative. But because in African setting, our parents did not raise us to be critical thinkers.
Just do what you're told.
Just do what you don't question my authority. Go and do this. You don't ask question. So that's the reason why we are here where we are right now in Africa. But if we are able to, I have identified that part, that children should be raised to be critical thinkers, to make decisions for themselves. Not helping them to make certain decisions. Let them make this decision, because a time will come, they will go into the world whereby their parents will not be there. So what happens? They will go into the world where they need to work with other children that are not even that do not have the same belief system they have. They are not in the same environment. They do not believe in their God, the God that they serve. They serve another God. So we want to bring this inclusion into our teaching. We want to make these children to be relevant, to collaborate. In our days, if you remember clearly, in our days, it's such that, if you want to go and apply in a bank, in any organization, of course, they will look at your CV. Oh, you went to Harvard University, you did this, you did that. That was the basis of qualification at that time. Now, the basis for qualification is not only about your competencies. It's about the soft skills that you have learned. How collaborative are you? Are you a critical thinker? Are you somebody that can diversify? Are you somebody that can work with different kinds of people? Do you have this inclusiveness in your mind? Do you want to work with people? Are you open to learning? Or are you just fixed in your way? So these are the things that, I have garnered, that I think, this young generation coming up, we need to impute all of this in them, teach them self-leadership, talk to them about resilience, talk to them about grit, telling them that success is not something that jumps at you. It's something that you build on. It's something that you prepare yourself for. It doesn't just happen. It's a process. So that is what I will do differently, honestly. That's what I would do differently.
Great, and I'm sure that it will make a whole world of difference.
And this is where we draw the curtain on today's episode of Peel, powered by Teacher. Do join us again.